Hello, my little wordlings. As you can see, we are reviewing the book A Long Way Down by Nick Hornby. Now, this is my first introduction to this author. A friend of mine sent me this book, and I highly recommend this author. I don't think I would start with this book, and I will tell you why. I just want to say the book was a great read. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the subject matter. I think it was well written. But one of the characters, her name is Jess. I hate Jess. I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. I hate her.
Now she's kind of grown on me. Like a rash.
And I know she's fake, but I hate her. And if this author was based her on anybody, I'd like her name because I need to throat punch somebody. Oh my god, I can't believe how well he wrote this character. But the thing is, when it came to parts with her voice, I wanted to put it down because I despised her that badly. But it just goes to show how well she was written. But it was, oh my god, this person drove me nuts. So that's why I say not to start with this one. Because I almost wanted to put the book down because of what of a bitch she was.
You go, girl. You go, girl.
But I persevered because all the other characters were redeeming in some way. Or they were at least entertaining to read. Not that Jess wasn't entertaining to read, it was just hard to identify with her with a lot of things. But I digress. So, A Long Way Down, Nick Hornby, great writer. Try a different book first. Unless you want to see how bad this character is and what a shitty person she is. Then, and no, I don't care. I don't care if you've read this book and you feel sorry for Jess. You have way more empathy than I do. Way more. But yes, go ahead and read it. Wonderful author. And I did find some great quotables, and I did learn some things from this book. So let's take a journey. So as usual, we have the lovely Miss Bronte and our Crystal Skull of Knowledge to help us out here. This quote. See, I didn't know anything about anything then. I thought I knew things, but I didn't. And
You absolute imbecile.
I'm pretty sure most people out there can relate to this, that there was a period of time where you felt like you knew yourself, you knew the world, you had a handle on things. And the more knowledge you gain, the less you know. And it's so trite, but it's so true. On a side note, if you hear snoring, Crumply is beside me and he's in a whiny mood, so he doesn't want to leave my side. So sorry about that. Let's see the next quote. I don't know about you, but choice isn't always what I want. And when I first read this, I thought he meant that you don't always like the choices that are presented, but sometimes I think it also relates to the fact that sometimes you don't want a choice. Sometimes, especially when you're in a difficult position, you kind of want to be told what to do. You yearn for someone to take control when things are falling apart, especially if you're the one who caused them to fall apart, which it did, I believe, for this character, if I'm remembering which character it is. So this was what he said right afterwards, which helps clarify even more. You can end up flicking between one channel and another and not watching either program properly. I think even with that, I think both interpretations on this line work, and both interpretations actually lead to the same characterization. Can't remember his name. I'm not gonna lie. Can't remember his name. Okay, next quote. It's music rage, which is like road rage, only more righteous. When you get road rage, a tiny part of you knows you're being a jerk. But when you get music rage, you're carrying out the will of God, and God wants these people dead.
A dead body.
Personally, I keep wanting to say God wants these motherfuckers dead. I don't drive, and even I understand this. Music carries you in a way that nothing else in this world can. And I almost understand why parents would have said, like back in the 90s with the Satanic Panic, and they used to blame music for all of us doing the stupid shit we were doing. Well, not necessarily stupid shit, the shit we needed help with, but that's a whole other thing. But I can see how music could compel you to move. But I don't think it's a driver. I think it's in the passenger seat with you, egging you on a little bit, but you're already taking control. Again, debatable. Next quote. Firstly, it made us realize that we weren't capable of killing ourselves. And secondly, this information made us suicidal again. As someone who has dealt with suicidality for a long portion of my life, oh my god, did that kick me in the face. And it also reminded me of a quote from a movie with Robin Williams, and it's kind of the polar opposite of this quote, which is, I think about killing myself every day. It's the only thing that keeps me alive. The idea of suicide keeping you alive is kind of a driving force, like you have something to look forward to. Those who know, and I hate when people say that, those who know, but I don't want to amplify that in anyone who's not had those feelings. But this one, where it's the joke that when you're suicidal and you haven't died, aren't you more depressed because you can't do anything right? That's kind of what this brought me to as well. That I can't do it, and yet the feeling is still there. Just because I can't bring myself to do it doesn't mean the feeling is gone away in any shape or form. Next quote. I don't know why, but this made me feel happy. 2 men I didn't really know had told me not to call them if I was feeling suicidal, and I felt like hugging them. Once people know that you're mentally ill, it does turn into a bit of a circus of how they treat you. And whether it's with extreme derision, extreme care, whatever, it's extreme. And sometimes you just want to be a person, and you know what, if you don't have time for me, that's okay. In this moment in the book, and this one was Maureen, she was being treated normally, and that's all she craved. And it happened with these two guys saying, we don't want you to call us. Okay, now let's learn some new things. In my social circle, blowing up fucking space monsters is socially acceptable in a way that American pastoral isn't. Now, the reason I put this as something to learn is I forgot what American pastoral was, and I had to look it up. It's Philip Roth book. Another good author. But for anyone who didn't know, and also I really like this quote too. It could have gone under either, because I feel more and more these two worlds can live together. But when this book was written, you were either one or the other. You couldn't be intelligent and play video games. If you need more proof that these worlds are intertwined, Switch has so many story-based games that kind of have an illusion of gameplay, but they're a massive story, which I want to start doing some of those on this channel. So you don't have to be one or the other. Human beings are way more complex. We also talk about Nick Drake, who is a singer from the 70s, and this is his song Riverman. An all-night show. I find it has a bit of little bit of Nick Cave, a little bit of Vic Chestnut, that kind of not necessarily bluesy, but well, he describes it as bluesy in the book. I would describe it more as like if you could go from blues to just sad. Saddies. That's not good.
Her book cover with her trying to launch and sell her book to the judges with
Okay, so this is a new word I learned. Plaice, a North Atlantic flatfish, which is a commercially important food fish. I have never heard of this. I don't know if it's more popular because this book is set in England. Maybe it's just a fish out there that we don't get in North America. Who knows? But I learned about it, and I put part of where So I put the quote where it came from. So when I trail off, the second slide has the rest of the quote. She was transported by her microwaved plais and her warm white wine. And then I learned churlish, a rude in a mean-spirited and surly way. Now I've seen this word churlish, and I just assumed it was more of a regional way of saying childish, which I guess it kind of is, a rude, mean-spirited. Anytime someone is acting like that, you say they're childish, but I've never seen the actual definition of the word, but I guess in my mind, when I've been reading, I've been using it the right way. So here's the rest of the line. And it seemed churlish to spoil it. Okay. So, suicidologist, someone who studies why people kill themselves and how we can prevent it. I looked it up because I would have actually bet money that he made up this word. Kind of like chaostician. It doesn't seem real. And then, but the freaking area in the book where it says the word kind of mimics exactly what was going through my head. This suicidologist guy, that's a job? Everything's a job. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so they also talk about Pauline Kael, film critic for The New Yorker, known for her sharp wit and being opinionated. Obviously, a picture of her, and here's the quote that it comes from. And then there's music and girls and drugs and homeless people who've read Pauline Kael and Wawa pedals. So at this point, the character is naming off all the wonderful things in life. Not necessarily wonderful, but things that are just awesome in their own right and that don't define you so much. A lot can be read into this line, and it was the shock where he learned that a homeless person had read someone that he thought indicated intelligence and his friends hadn't. And he had one group of friends and none of them read, and then the other group of friends he makes in this book, who are the main characters, aren't readers as well. He was in groups where these people, these social circles, should have been on his level, and then for him, someone who's homeless who he wouldn't have pegged as being well-read, literate, has read this, and to him that opens up his mind to something new. Okay, cogitation, the action of thinking deeply about something, contemplation. And the quote, neither envelope inspired much confidence in my powers of cogitation. New word, might use it. I guess I should have realized the connection with the word cognition. Cogitation sounds harsh. It's like you're thinking deeply about a problem that needs to be fixed, where contemplation seems more airy and light and not as forceful. Contemplation is something you want to do. Cogitation is something you're being forced to do. Now, obviously, it doesn't have that separation, but hearing the words, if I were using them in a sentence, in a story, in a poem, I would separate them like that. So that's it. I talked about this shirt in one of my other videos. This is the Kurt Vonnegut shirt. It's fine. I realized I can still use it for a pajama shirt, even if it's a little too tight to wear outside the home. So I hope you learned something today, and because I got to learn something too. And I hope you have a very steady brain day, and I will see you next time. Bye.